Hi, baby. It's me. I'm driving to work. If I don't talk to you, I'll just talk to you this evening when I get off. It'll be late, so I love you very much, and I will talk to you later. Love you. Bye.
Hey, wake up. Wake up.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us on the Social Yet Distance podcast. My name is Jack Barnell. I'll be the host today. And we are going to get some business out of the way, knock out our sponsorships, and we'll have a break for that again later on. But for now, we're going to touch base with a couple of our sponsors. Yes, we have sponsors, so please listen through, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Thanks, and we'll be back in a few minutes with Austin Davis. Okay, welcome to the Social Yet Distance podcast. My name is Jack Barnell, and I'd like to say thanks for coming and spending a little time with us tonight. We are going to be chatting with Austin Davis. He's a poet, a student activist, and we're going to let him tell you a lot more about himself. The main thing that we'd like to talk about is to be honest, we're going to talk about some interesting things. That's all I can tell you. I'll just leave it at that. And then, of course, we're going to talk about his newest book, which is called The World Isn't the Size of Our Neighborhood Anymore. And then there was Celestial Nightlight, which was also released last year. And then we'll find out what else is going on. So that's that. Thanks for tuning in. And hello, Austin Davis. How's it going, brother?
Hey, Jack. I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's
brightens my night to talk to you every time.
It's more than my pleasure, and you're being way more than kind. So, did I get everything right on the books? It seems like in the back of my mind, there's something else that's going on too. I just want to cover that since I mentioned it. Is that true?
Yeah, those are my last two books. I'm working on a full length that I'm hoping will come out in the next year or two, but who knows? And I wrote this little book of poems about my experiences with the Unsheltered that I'm hoping to have come out this summer. But again, who knows? But yeah, The World Isn't the Size of Our Neighborhood Anymore and Celestial Nightlight are the last two projects that came out. And that was early 2020, early to mid.
Well, I think that's great. And if you're on track already to have another thing or two published, then, that means that you're obviously going to the John Dorsey School of Poetry Writing. But
oh man, he publishes a book every couple months and they're all amazing. Like, I don't know how he does it, but see, I'm not at the John Dorsey level, but
well, and not only does he, I mean, that's just what we see. I mean,
hey, yeah,
I think that the people who subscribe to his deal, I think that they get a lot more stuff too. So
I imagine that he writes at least a poem or two or five a day,
Well, what's puzzling to me with somebody who's as prolific as he is that you'll also, in a lot of cases, and I know that he's one, and my buddy in LA, A Razor, he used to do the same thing. And there's many of them around who do this, but it's like, you'll see them online all day long and they're there and you see them interacting and you see them making posts and you see them, talking about their friends, upcoming event and this and that and the other thing. But then you realize too that they also churned out about 10 poems that day,
Right. Yeah.
So how did you do that exactly?
John is a superhero, Jack.
That's all there is to it. Yeah. And he's one of many. I don't know if you've had a chance to go and read my friend Fran yet, but Fran Locke is, she's kind of my partner in this whole endeavor, and she's well, she's gone and moved now, but she's lives in London, and I say she's moved because she's gone and bought a place by the sea, so she's getting out of the big nasty city.
Right.
So, but she is, she is probably even more than John, the most prolific writer I've ever known.
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah, it really is amazing how people do it. And, I've got the same poems I've been working on since like 2004.
Yeah. It's interesting how that works. I have some poems that will take years to write, and some where you write it once and it's done. I think it's important to just listen to the process, or listen to the poem, I guess.
That's true. And I think, I know in my case, it has a lot to do with where the poem actually springs from. I mean, if I'm writing about something, well, all right, let's say, okay, let's say I'm going to write a poem about my divorce. Okay, well, that's something that happened a long time ago. And that's something I'm going to write from a completely different perspective than one I might fire out today about Trump.
Right.
So I mean, it just really, it does kind of depend on where it comes from too, I think.
I do think that memory is one of the best tools that a poet has. Most of my poems are written from memories, a lot of my poems.
I agree 100%. And I tend to call them active memories is what I call them. But the bitch about that is I'm finding out my memory is not as keen as I thought it was.
That is a bitch.
That's not a pleasing thing to me.
Well, I think it's also interesting, even if you don't have the best memory, whatever your memory is, it's going to be altered by time in some way. And it's interesting how that translates to the page.
Yeah. And because I mean, you've actually hit it, because that's the thing, is like the way that it actually ends up in the end in writing is never going to be an accurate like description of the event, to me anyway.
Right.
So that might be the way I remember it, and that might be the way that it comes across, but that ain't the way it was, brother. That's just the deal.
And that's okay, though. That's okay. One thing I had to get over when I was younger was using memories to write a poem and then not being so fixated on translating it exactly how it was. I think that the key for me in writing a poem is using something real, a memory, something that happened to me, and using that to spring off a narrative.
No, yeah, definitely. And I guess that's the source of those, poems from 2004 is, there were traumatic, very consequential and memorial and like just really transformative times in my life. And I tend to sit down and write about those as soon as I could. But those are the same things that, they started out as me writing stories to document basically what happened. And in that process, I started to realize that there was kind of like this flowery, kind of well put together way of telling what happened. And then I started the chopping. Because it's got to be poetry now. It can't just be this long drawn out drama tale. It's got to be poetry.
The old editing.
Yeah, right. So all this stuff went through all this like laborious process, and now I've got it to the point where there's some stuff that's going to come out at some point that's going to be really good.
I'm excited. Well, I'm excited to read those. My question for you: do you like editing? Because I know poets are on opposite spectrums sometimes. I really love just like kind of tinkering with language. It's kind of like a puzzle to me. It's fun. I don't know how you feel about that, but
I definitely like editing my own stuff.
Yeah.
I took some spins at editing other people's, but I just don't feel qualified to do that.
Neither do I.
Yeah, I just don't. I mean, even if I had the education to back it up, I still don't want to mess with anybody's art. Now that doesn't
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
suggestions, but I don't want to be considered an editor who's going to go there and chop,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But as far as my own work, I love to edit my own stuff. In fact,
Yeah.
that it could be detrimental, you know.
Yeah. Right. I feel that as well, but there's something so satisfying about playing with language, tinkering with it so much that you get to a metaphor that really strikes you, or an image that is just so evocative. There's something that I can't even explain, the feeling that arises when you get to that point. But I also understand what you're saying, that you can edit to death, edit too much.
And I mean, it's not an either or situation either. I mean, look, just because I described it that way doesn't mean I'm disagreeing with the way that you choose to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
I think what you're asked is a really general thing, and there's no general answer. I mean, my own stuff, I love to play with it, but no, I'm not going to edit somebody else's. Now, do I do it because I like playing with words? I mean, look, the real answer to that, as far as I'm concerned, is I write because I want to be heard.
Yeah.
And look, there are true, deep psychological reasons why that is. Okay. I mean, that's the truth, And so I might edit the shit out of something to make sure that the message gets across. But that doesn't mean I'm necessarily going to change the nature of the content.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, that very easily lends itself to taking that metaphor and building around it.
I do that.
Look, I'm going to tell you the honest God truth. We can sit here right now and you can see there's words that go sideways and there's words that go upside down. All right. But what you would notice is, if you could actually see that, is that most of those things that you see, whether they're going sideways or up and down or diagonal, is a phrase. Okay. Right. And it's something that crossed my mind, or I heard it when it came across TV, or it, and look, it's something I know I got to build on it at some point, and it will show up at some point. I guarantee it. And what the sad reality is, though, is I have notebooks full of those things.
Yeah. Well, that's something that I realized as I was growing up as a writer. I used to, think of an image or a setting, or maybe like a metaphor, and then I'd feel forced to write a poem based around that in the moment. And what I've realized now, I have the same thing. I have notebooks full of just 3 lines or 2 lines or 1 line. But eventually a lot of those lines turn into a full poem, and it just takes time. And that's something that's hard for me about poetry, is the patience that it takes to write a good poem. But it takes a long time, for me at least. I don't know.
Well, and then, I mean, that's the dichotomy there, though. I mean, that's, is that the right word? All right, we start off talking about somebody like John Dorsey, who can write 10 poems a day. Okay. And then here we come. Okay. And now we're talking about God. It's just, we got to get it right. And you got to worry about this and kind of worry about that. Okay. So how does a guy like me or you get to that point?
Yeah. Honestly, it depends on the poem for me. Some poems are John Dorsey-esque, where I'll feel, this euphoric rush of, I need to write this poem now and I'm going to finish it. And even if it's not perfect, I don't care, because I'm human and I'm not perfect. But then there are some poems where I'm like, this has real potential, and I see this metaphor, but it's not the way I feel it. I need to tinker with it more. So it really just depends on the poem, I guess. Yeah. I go back and forth constantly.
So I guess really what you're trying to say is that we don't have a freaking clue what we're doing.
No idea at all, Jack, but what the hell?
All right, so I'm not alone.
Yeah.
All right, so how do you want to do this, man? You want to read some stuff now, or no, let's don't. I want to talk a little bit about how you came to be in poetry, but I mean, I first heard you read, I mean, God, what was it? It wasn't even a month ago, I guess. And
because you tuned into John's podcast.
Yeah, it was that night.
Yeah.
And I definitely was intrigued with the poetry, but there was little bits and pieces at that point that kind of indicated you had a life that was going on that wasn't just about poetry.
Right.
I mean, look, I knew that you weren't the guy who went and punched a clock at the factory and then came home and wrote poetry until 11:37 p.m. every night, fed the cat and went to sleep.
Not me.
I
Nope.
knew that wasn't what you were doing. So tell us what you are doing.
Yeah. So I run Arizona Jews for Justice's Unsheltered outreach program, which is called AZ Hugs for the Houseless. And I go to different cities every day, every couple days, and I bring folks meals and essential items like sanitary products, these little care packs that the community puts together. But a big part of our project as well is to bring items that, will give people a little joy. So their favorite book, or their favorite meal, like Applebee's. I brought someone a steak dinner with broccoli from Applebee's because it reminded them of home a few weeks ago, or art supplies, stuff like that. So it's the humanity of it for us, being a friend, being there when someone needs a ride to see their mom, to a job interview, to wherever they need to go. It's honestly, I could boil down the project to we're trying to be a friend, to show people that we care and they're not alone, because, experiencing homelessness is one of the most difficult and scariest things that a person can go through in this life. So if we can be there for a little support, to spread a little care and love, then I'm happy.
Yeah, I mean, I cannot tell you, coming from a recovery background, um, that whole process starts with me being willing to do some things differently. And the end result of that process is I end up, getting to a point where I'm blessed enough that I can spend time being of service to other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And people don't understand going into it that that's what it's really all about, and that's probably a good thing. But um, what it does do is it cements a little bit of truth.
Mm.
And so I guess my point is that, that means that, once you've seen that, or once you've lived through that, or once you understand that the payoff in all of this really is the opportunity to be of service, and that's where the payoff is going to come, no matter what you have in your bank account.
Yeah.
That maybe everybody will decide to get their hands a little bit more dirty, a little bit more often. And that's the way I've always looked at it, because anybody, if you've come to a point, look, the deal is most people who would can write a check,
Yeah.
and that's what they'll do. And they'll alleviate that little bit of guilt that they have because they got that Mercedes in the parking lot. Okay. And that's okay.
Yeah. One thing that I've
I
realized.
think it has a little bit more long-lasting value if you actually go and get your hands dirty, though. And if you go out of that way to take that person to make sure they make it to that doctor's appointment, or that they have the food stamps that they need, or that, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, some of my best friends in the world are currently living on the streets tonight. I see all these people every couple days, and they're amazing people. They're creative people. They're loving people. And I love having conversations with them and hanging out with them. And it's been a true blessing for me. But one thing I've realized is that most people want to get involved in whatever capacity they can. This project is community funded. People donate their time, their money, their resources every day. People will message me, and that's what's beautiful to me, is that it's really cool to bring the community together for this common goal.
Yeah, and I have to be honest that, on the days when I find myself getting a little bit burned out in what this whole world is doing to itself, um, I find it difficult, man. And look, I also learned a long time ago that the only way that's going to go away is if I go out there and do something for somebody else, quite worried about what I ain't got.
Yeah.
I'd love to think that I'm able to do that, but I'm not, but I know that I can.
Right.
I know that. I know that because I went out there and I learned it, and I did it, and I got the results.
Yeah.
That's all people like me and you can do, is make sure that other people do go out there and learn it, and they'll make a difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, The Social Yet Distanced is sponsored by the Emotional Orphan in the form of production support. We hope that you'll continue to help us grow the show through the purchase of merchandise at Redbubble, or some books or broadsides at Gumroad. You can find links on our Anchor page and on all our social media. Thanks. Again, the bottom line is that this ain't really all about me. I guess I'm curious to know, though, how that shows up in your work. In your writing and in your poetry.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the work that I do with those on the streets makes me a more empathetic person, for sure. It causes me to slow down, definitely, in whatever I'm doing in life, and just try to be more thoughtful of my actions, I guess. But I've definitely written poems about the experiences that I've had. And, I've had a lot of experiences. This next chat book, I'm hoping it'll come out this summer. Not sure. Who knows? But whatever happens, happens. But each poem is based off of a different experience that I had with a specific person on the streets. And, the goal is to kind of tear down the stigma around homelessness and show more people that, those in the streets are human too, and they're valuable, they're necessary, and, they're amazing, That's the goal of it. So we'll see what happens, but I definitely write poems about it, because sometimes my emotions are just so high when I'm out doing this work that I need to alleviate it in some way. And writing has always done that for me, whether that's with mental illness, whatever I'm going through in my day-to-day life, or this work that that I want to commit my life to.
Right. So you say, all right, so let's grab that phrase as it just went flying right by. Work that you want to dedicate your life to. So when you say that, how does that manifest in your vision?
Whatever I end up doing in my life, I just turned 21. I'm still, who knows what I'm going to do 20 years from now, but whatever it is, I know that I'm still going to be out on the streets with my friends. That's a personal goal for me. I'm going to make that a priority in whatever way I can, because I care about these people, and I think that it's really valuable to at least give it a shot, try to be a friend.
Yeah.
Something that I really care about.
Well, you actually answered the question, and because I didn't ask it very clearly. I guess what I was asking is, does that mean you're studying, sociology, and you're going to end up, building some big nonprofit that's going to go, solve homelessness for the entire world or something? Or does that mean that no matter what Austin Davis decides to do in the future, he'll be in there getting his hands dirty regardless?
Exactly. Yeah. I would love to grow the project, and I would love to start a shelter or something eventually, with the help of a lot of different community members, everyone pitching in. That's a great goal. I would love to do that. Who knows what'll happen though? One thing I've realized is I'm changing every year, everything changes, and I'm just along for the ride, but I do have my morals to hold on to, and I have my goals, and that's important to me.
Yeah, well, it has to be, and after a certain point in my life, it became extremely important too. You just have
That's all
to
we got at the end of the day,
Well, yeah, it is, and but you have to be careful not to set yourself up, and that's that tends to be my issue, is I'll set myself up, and the way I do that is I don't make it clear, and that's, I guess, the nature of my question is, does this mean that you're thinking something long-term and professional, or are you making a spiritual statement here? And the answer is both.
That's what I was going to say. I think both. I want to make this my life. a lot
which
that poetry
indicates that you know damn good and well what you got, and you know you got it figured out, and that therefore no need to worry about it. Austin's gonna be just fine.
Thanks, Jack. I try my best, you know. But that along with making art, you know, I've always wanted to balance the two, you know, community outreach and creating art and supporting artists, you know, artists on the street. That's a big goal of mine, is to, you know, bring the supplies to those on the street so they can create. That's actually what we're doing next weekend, is bringing out a bunch of art supplies like sketch pads and colored pencils, paints, canvases, and just letting people have that release, you know, the ability to create. Because one thing I've realized is some of the people on the streets that I've met and become friends with are some of the most creative people I have ever met in my entire life, Jack. Like amazing poets, amazing painters. And if we can support that in some way, then fuck, let's do it, you know?
Oh, I agree 100%. Look, I mean, there are a couple of guys in on the West Coast, and well, I mean, I'm thinking of two in particular, who one for years did a creative writing program in the prison that he graduated from, and then another did a similar thing at a much bigger halfway house kind of program, recovery.
I love that. Yeah, supporting incarcerated artists is really important as well.
So yeah, I mean, so you know, there's definitely opportunities there. But my point is that even coming from, I mean, several of the better poets that I know, that's exactly where they came from, and several of the others that I know, that's where they were. That's where they spent their time. Was
you know,
going back into that prison and giving back to that community that helped to save their ass, you know. Even though it was prison, they kept them alive, you know.
Right. You know, and one thing that I've learned is that most people on the streets have been affected by unforeseen circumstances. And most people in America right now are a few bad days away from maybe having to experience homelessness. And I feel like a lot of people don't think about it that way, but we're all kind of in that realm, you know?
Yeah, I hesitate to use the word reset, but there is a shift that I believe is happening, and you know, I'll just leave it at that. There's no need for us to discuss that here, but we got other conspiracy theories to talk about here.
We got lots of stuff to cover. Oh yeah.
Lots of Facebook poetry drama. Which I'm sure you're well aware does exist.
Yeah, you know.
Well, I think it's exciting, man. And, you know, I guess that, you know, one of the predominant principles to me is that, you know, you hear all these Zen masters and philosophers and great thinkers, and one of the things that they always get back to is this, you know, idea of balance. And I agree 100%, because, you know, but I look at it a little bit differently. And look, there are tools in the toolkit. There are skills and talents that I was blessed enough to have, and there can be a merging of those things. Yeah. And that starts to happen, then that balance that I'm seeking doesn't come from out there. It starts to come from in here. And I'm easily able to take that left brain, right brain, heart, you know, physical, spiritual, all those things, and balance them out to where they get what they need to do. And if I've done that, then I don't have to deal with all that other shit.
Yeah. Right. And it's a process, though. Sometimes it's really hard to find balance.
Yeah. And it's a discipline that requires practice. And that's the part that people don't get, is you know, it takes time.
Yeah.
It takes practice.
One thing I've started doing, I really enjoy meditation and yoga. And it's really hard for me to force myself to do it, though, because it takes practice and it takes mental discipline. But I've been trying to force myself to meditate twice a day. Sometimes I don't, sometimes I do, but trying my best, but it really does help my mental state, I think.
Oh, I have no doubt. I have been doing that as well. I also do Wim Hof breathing.
Yeah.
And a lot of breath of fire. I mean, I've been trying to get into the whole breath work thing too as well, but
yeah, the breathing exercises are important. Like throughout the day, if I feel really overwhelmed or stressed, I do like the 5-7-5
yeah
breathing thing, and it helps. It calms you down, and it makes you make better decisions, I think.
Well, and like we were talking about practicing and treating it like a discipline, and that was kind of my point, is that when I initially started doing those kind of disciplines, it just didn't work,
Yeah.
But it was taking the effort to do it,
And it takes a while. It takes a while.
Yeah, and then you start to notice when it's working.
Yeah.
You start to notice and so now, from it being a rare occasion, it's gotten to the point where now if I'm in the right frame of mind, even though I might be stressed, I can sit down and in about 5 minutes, I'm in and out, done,
I love that. That's the goal for me. That's the goal for me. I'm not there yet, but that's the goal.
Well, and that's not, I mean, look, that's not DMT engaged, full deal, that's not what we're talking about here, but it'll accomplish what I need, for
Right.
that,
Yeah.
And yeah, again, it's all about discipline, and unfortunately I haven't been able to do that with my writing.
Yeah, well, I don't know about you, but I found that if I force myself to write, it doesn't come out as good. I kind of just have to let myself write when I want to write, when I feel inspired. And I try to read constantly and just absorb and learn. But with the writing, if I sit down and I'm like, I'm going to write a badass poem right now, it doesn't come out that way. But if I'm at the grocery store and I feel something and I write a poem, maybe it'll come out great, So you just kind of have to trust the flow, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm a very, very much a big believer in reading all the time, because whether it's a phrase or something will stimulate and get those juices flowing where they might have been a little bit stagnant.
And that's a great feeling too, isn't it? When you connect when you connect with another poet on that level, like that's one of my favorite sensations, favorite feelings, is reading a poem that I really connect with.
Right.
It's just, that's why I love poetry.
No doubt, my brother. So talk to us about the book.
Well, The World Isn't the Size of Our Neighborhood Anymore came out in March 2020, and it's really an ode to growing up, all the hard times, all the good times, the love, the pain, and all the times you had to grow up a little too fast. That's what the book's about. But it was a really great experience for me writing it, but also right after it came out, I went on a little tour, and it was right before, everything shut down, and we haven't been able to perform since.
Right.
But in March, early March, I did like 7-8 shows, something like that, in a bunch of major cities in Arizona. And it was really fun and valuable for me to just travel in my van with my friends and do shows and sleep on floors. And like, I end up thinking about that a lot. I have been during the pandemic, and I'm excited for when I can tour again or do shows with other poets. And me and you, Jack, we got to do a show sometime. That would be really fun.
Dude, I would love it, man. I'll be honest with you. One of the missing pieces from my whole bucket list thing would be a road trip out west where I could actually go and hit a couple of stages, and if nothing else, shake hands with everybody I've wanted to meet all these years. Because I've got tons of friends out there and extremely talented people that I've never seen them or met them,
Right. Damian Rucci and I were thinking, we've been talking for a long time about doing like a little tour or something, and like us meeting halfway in Dallas or something, and just doing shows and hanging out and driving my van and I would love for that. That's a goal.
That's the way the old timers used to do it too, man. I mean, people like S.A. Griffin and the Poetry Bomb, and the karma bomb, and just, I mean, there's just many stories, and of course Dorsey and of that whole crew, depending on who was in that crew at whatever time. I know Damien, they've probably gone around with John on several occasions, I would think.
Well, one thing I would just love to do, this is a dream of mine, is to just meet up with a bunch of poet friends, hop in a van or a couple vans, and just go to a ton of cities in the US and not only do shows and have fun, but also do some outreach, because the homelessness is an issue in every city in America. So imagine us going to 10 cities and going to the 10th city in every one of those cities, and then at night doing a show and then having fun, and I don't know, that's a big goal for me.
That's actually a pretty awesome idea if you want to know the truth.
Yeah, and I'm excited because I know that
we'll keep that to ourselves for now.
I'm really excited because I know the community would come together to do that, because I went to Mexico a few months ago with my friend John. He has a bus. He runs a nonprofit called Let's Be Better Humans.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, we went to Mexico and brought asylum seekers essential items, and the community really came together for that, and everyone donated. And I know that if I was like, I'm going to go on tour with a bunch of my friends, we're going to read poems, and we're going to try to help people would come together and be like, that's fucking awesome, let's do this.
Well, and I'm sure that there's, whether it be clubs or coffee houses or whoever, but wherever you might give a poetry reading anyway, well, why wouldn't they want to sponsor something like that?
For sure. Yeah. Well, that's another cool thing is we partnered with restaurants and other groups, nonprofits, and that's the way to do it, is mutual aid, everyone coming together for the common goal. But also, when I went on my first tour, a lot of my shows were at libraries, and before each reading, I would do a class for kids, and I would talk to kids about poetry, and we'd write poems together. And those are some memories that I know are going to stick with me forever, because, kids love to create as we do, and I think it's so valuable to promote that and show kids that it's okay to be vulnerable, and it's okay to create and write and make art, let's celebrate that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Well, and partially where the kids are concerned, especially, in this world, culture is being removed at every turn. And, with books and, history is being replaced by a bunch of crap, I mean, so, to be able to offer a genuine perspective and a place to get that from an honest, unbridled resource, I think is inherently valuable to somebody who might not be exposed to it otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, I know for me growing up, for a lot of the classes that I took when I was younger, it was just really old white men that I read. And there's a lot more poetry out there that's not written by really old white men from 1848 or whatever,
Well, in 1976, the year of the bicentennial of the United States of America, young Jack Varnell played the schoolmaster in a homemade production of who knows what, a colonial-esque themed play written by my fifth grade class, which was filmed for public TV in front of Stone Mountain.
Wow.
In the year 1976. That's where I lived. So I understand a little bit about some history being changed.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. The Wren's Nest and some of the places that they presented as historical places were not at all what they were pretended to be. So, but yeah, I think that, part of this whole podcast, I mean, part of the whole reason it exists is I made a decision a couple of years ago, or I've been watching this for years, and, I see I've got a circle of friends who are all extremely good writers. And every so often, they'll put together a $10 chapbook, and then everybody who knows everybody, they all sell their books to each other. And the rest of the world has no clue that those books even exist.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
And how many books are people like me or you actually going to be able to buy, considering the number of people we know who write books? I mean, come
for
on,
sure. Yeah. And
So
I think that's why touring is so valuable. Like I've met a
exactly.
lot of people. Honestly, what I did, I met some people at stores in the towns that I went to, and I was like, hey, come to this poetry reading. It's free. And
Right.
some people did, and it was really fun. And like, it's just like a chill, fun environment, reading poems, talking with people, connecting in that way. I think that's so valuable. And poetry is contemporary and poetry is valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can spread that and show the rest of the world that, then we're doing something cool, Jack.
Yeah, and but the funny thing is I've always noted the percent, or at least how different things seemed from place to place. Um, and I know that sounds really obtuse, but here's what I'm saying. Like Fran is in the UK, all right, and everything that they are taught and know about literature and writing and poetry and whatever starts very young. So by the time they're our age, they're all, for the most part, pretty well versed in the average, whoever they would teach you in England,
Right.
And I'm sure that, there's the whole section on American poets and whatever. But my point is that level of education in the arts just doesn't happen anymore in the U.S. It just doesn't.
Yeah. I agree with you
And it's
entirely.
sad. It's really sad because even when I went to school, art was a big deal. And like, going to choir or orchestra or marching band or anything that had anything to do with the arts was awesome. And you
Yeah.
wanted to be a part of it. And it's just,
I think that art should be celebrated in whatever capacity. Everyone, should create art in whatever way they feel comfortable. It's super valuable personally to create, and I think that should be celebrated more in schools.
let me ask you this. Do you find a difficulty in because you'll hear me, the longer you know me, you'll hear me talk about the whole left brain, right brain thing.
Right.
What I mean when I'm saying that is, I spend half of my life in a world that's about writing code and social media and, writing from a social perspective that's going to get views and attract, eyeballs and, how to build a business and what are the moving parts that we need. And, the podcast is going to be successful. So how do we support it with merch and this and that? And so you got all this stuff happening over here. And then I want to sit down and try to write, or I want to sit down and try to do, something with photography. And it just, to jump that gap all the time.
Yeah.
It'll kill you.
I find a lot of what I do.
Let's just say it's taxing on me. What I'm really asking is that something you've experienced or that you have to deal with?
Yeah. I mean, I think that, right now, capitalism doesn't support people making art. But one thing that I really love to do is at night, I like taking walks. And that's meditative for me, and it kind of separates my me creating art from the rest of the day. And I'll just go on a walk, or I'll sit on my patio, or I'll sit on a front lawn, and I'll just sit there for a long time, leave my phone inside, and eventually some gears will start to turn, and I'll feel creative, and I'll notice the moon, and I'll notice the way that the leaves are falling in a weird pattern, or I'll notice a few dog walkers who are talking to themselves or listening to music or skipping or something, you know what I mean? And that'll spark something. So for me, at least, it's just sitting in my own thoughts for a while is what sparks creativity.
Yeah, that's
like forcing myself to separate from technology is really important for me, because it can be such a distraction for me personally, and it can be such an addiction too, to be on your phone and to get enveloped in that. So I like, it's hard sometimes, but I try to separate myself from that when I try to create, I guess, you know?
Yeah. You know what's interesting to me? You automatically went to technology. I didn't ask about technology. I asked
Yeah.
about brain.
Right.
You know, which is, I mean, that there's something to that though, I think. Because I'm trying to figure out how to jump that barrier that's going on in my brain, and you're not perceiving it there. You're perceiving the problem as the technology that you have blocking that gap. Like
Yeah.
I've got the gap that I'm trying to get over back and forth, and you just got the technology blocking the gap. You know, and
Right.
so you take the technology away, and all of a sudden you get all this stimulus.
I do. Yeah.
You know,
That's how I feel, at least mostly in my
that's
day-to-day
a
life.
very, very cool perspective, though. Actually,
Cool. Yeah. Well, I'm glad, and I find that that's when I don't know why, but I feel my most comfortable at night when it's late and dark and quiet. I feel very at home in my body and just in my life and my mind. And
yeah, I always have. I
yeah,
always have, and I don't know what causes that either, but I don't really care.
I don't know. I mean, I get more energetic, I guess, late at night for some reason, like that's when I want to write. That's when I want to create, that's when I want to make something.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing is like it's easy to say, oh, I'm just a night owl, but that's not really the deal.
Yeah.
Eh, that's when the creativity wakes up a little bit, I think, for me as well.
Yeah. Well, I think that's when the
Even if
world
I
is
was to
quiet.
try to sit here and veg like at night and just kind of like check out Netflix, I still couldn't do it.
Yeah.
That would be going on, but then I'd be thinking about my phone. I would have
Yeah.
to completely disengage, and that's what's always been the piece. I've never been doing that, and
Yeah.
so
Well,
that's why.
oftentimes, if I feel a spark or something during the day, I'll write on my phone, or
Oh, I do
it's
that
always
too.
on me, and it's easy because I don't always have a pen and paper.
I get that
But
bitch Siri trained. Where she's in trouble.
yeah.
I'll be writing all kind of stuff. I've been trying to get Siri trained, and I just can't get it right.
Yeah.
All right, what else do we need to know? Should we read some poetry? What do you think?
Yeah, let's read some poems. Hell yeah.
All right.
Let's see what I got here. Well, I'll start off, with a poem from The World Isn't the Size of Our Neighborhood Anymore. Let's see, let me find it real quick. So this poem is called Monsoon Season, and I wrote it, let's see, when I was either 18 or 19. And it's one of the first poems that I really felt like I finished, if that makes sense. It's called Monsoon Season. The Arizona elements are released from their asylums in July. The wind flips through your favorite book and cries after reading the last poem. It rains and rains in warm, empathetic bursts. And unlike your cold, frightened rain, monsoon rain brings dead leaves back to life. It's the kind of rain that makes me profess my love under your window with a boombox. It's the kind of rain that flings doors off its hinges, then eases them back into place at dawn. The world isn't the size of our neighborhood anymore. We've seen starless nights where the moon went to visit Mars. We've held each other on the roof of my car and watched meteors fall from the sky but never hit the ground. Come, sip your black tea as the sky turns to rotting peaches. Listen for the lovers pillow talking and the water running down our windows. As the light collects in puddles in the street, we can only hope the storm will last more than a couple minutes. And I remember first
I
writing
like that poem, man. I was waiting for the rotten peaches.
Thank you, thanks. Yeah, I remember writing that poem. I used to work at a bookstore in my town when I was in high school. And after school, I'd go over to this bookstore and I'd work and shelve and read, and it was great. And I remember writing this poem because there was a big monsoon storm one night, and it kept opening the sliding glass doors. They were like sliding doors to get into the bookstore, and the wind was so powerful that it would open the doors and shut them, or something like that. And I remember just thinking that's insane, and I love that, and let's write a poem about that. I remember like writing a poem on my shift while that was happening. So probably not the best thing to do at work, but made me feel better about, because the poem's all about the uncertainty of life. Right. Honestly, at its core. And I was feeling a lot of that after leaving high school and going to college and becoming an adult and growing up, I guess.
It's a coming of age tale.
Yeah. Well, that's what the whole book is, really. The world isn't the size of our neighborhood anymore. It's all a coming of age book, honestly.
I can't help but think, and I thought you might enjoy this actually, but I can't help but think of this every time you say the name of that book. When I was in high school, Cox Communications, which is a huge company here.
Yeah.
They came in, they wanted to build not a skyscraper, but probably a 12 or 13 story building, like right around the corner from my neighborhood. And it was where a neighborhood was where I went to school, with all these kids in the neighborhood.
Uh-huh.
And Cox came in and they bought every single house in the neighborhood and sealed up the neighborhood. Right. Mm. And everybody got, plenty of money and went and bought new houses and, whatever. But meanwhile, there's this neighborhood with all these houses that we used to party in all the time.
Right.
With all these people who knew how to get in the houses that we used to party in all the time. And they let that empty for 5 years. And it became like overgrown, the whole neighborhood stuff. And we would go in there and it was like they still lived there.
Wow.
Except everything was all overgrown, right? And we would go in there and do LSD.
That's a beautiful image, honestly, of this old rundown neighborhood, filled with plants and grass and people doing drugs, and just like that's a really cool image.
It really was very, very, very cool. And then they started construction on the building and came in and bulldozed it all. So of course. But yeah, the world is not the size of our neighborhood anymore, is what I think of. That's why I think of that every time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I've had moments like that as well growing up, seeing the old places you used to, smoke with your friends or have a beer or hang out or, even just drive around or whatever. Things change over the years, and that can be weird.
I live in Florida again now because I got lost in the neighborhood I grew up in and caught in traffic and got so confused and so disoriented in the neighborhood I grew up in. And the traffic was so bad that I got so frustrated and then said, you know what, I'm out of here. I'm leaving. And I did. I left.
Wow. Yeah.
Because I'm crazy.
Me too, Jack. Me too. Aren't we all a little bit?
All right, let's hear some more.
All right. Well, this poem, I haven't read this poem ever, but it's going to be published at the end of this month. I do believe either the end of this month or early April. And it's from my next book, and it's called Forecast. The image of you tonight stepping out of the shower with a towel around your hair will be the screensaver in my brain until the day they cut me open for science. I'm halfway out the window, lighting a cigarette. You smile at me from the doorway and finger a mountain range with a wavy stream, puffy clouds, and a grinning sun on the steamed up mirror, as if you're hoping that if you just keep drawing, it'll thicken into a window. Your footprints on the bathroom door look like little turtles crawling back to the ocean. And in this moment, I want to fall from our apartment on the 5th story a little less. Let's make love on the wet tile, tonguing up and down each other's bodies until we both believe that the sun will never rise or set. I had a dream that daybreak is just a camera flash, and the color of our day prints across the sky all inky and soft in the evening. I don't know the difference between what is real and what I'm most afraid of, but you've blown out the candle on our bedside table, and you're crawling into bed smelling like coconut soap and the promise of a warm tomorrow. So I know I can smile for the photographer, even if he is God.
Awesome.
Thanks.
I smelled the coconut too when you said
I find that sometimes love is what prompts my best poems, and or my most inspired writing is the feeling of love in whatever capacity that is, romantic or family or friends or, strangers helping each other.
Yeah, I got one speed on that. It's unrequited.
Yeah. Ready for another poem?
Sure, man. Keep them coming.
All right, this one's called Happy Birthday. There's a yellow balloon the color of autumn after snow bouncing around my chest. I often mistake its rhythm for my heartbeat, so trust me, I know I can't be trusted. Let's play a party game where we have to take turns telling each other about all our fears and mistakes and take a shot each time we wish we had a time machine. We'll be blackout drunk before the guests start ringing our doorbell. Last night, I broke into my old elementary school and left a coffee mug full of wet dirt and seeds in the janitor's closet to see if it's possible for a flower to grow tall and bright under the glow of a light bulb on a string. I've always thought of happiness as being tangible, the most brilliant mango hanging from the highest branch. But if we can't even find the forest, how are we supposed to climb the tree? Each day numbs me into dismissiveness, until my lips are purple from wine and I'm sitting on the patio, watching the rain darken the red brick tile around my feet. Fill my lungs with hot breath and we'll blow out the candles together, sing that familiar tune, learn how to pop without a sound.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah, that's one from the next book, which I think the title is going to be Lick My Neck and Lie About the Weather, but I'm not sure yet. It hasn't been picked up by a publisher yet. So
no,
we'll see. I say, I think that this was the last round of edits, last couple months. So it feels pretty complete to me. And that's kind of when I know that it's ready to send out into the world.
Until the mean old editor gets it.
Yeah. Yeah, editing's tough, but I always try to embrace it because at the end of the day, I want my poems to be as connective as possible with whoever's reading it, and I embrace all the feedback that I can get, That's what I want to leave behind is some art that'll make people feel a little less alone.
I agree 100%. I have a bad habit of you can count on the last line in most of my work to be the one that's supposed to be the knockout,
Yeah, right.
Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not.
And that can be super effective too, though, is the punchline at the end of the poem, where everything comes together. That's super effective.
Yeah, but again, I don't know how much of a technique it is as much as a habit, for me,
Right,
just the way I write,
Yeah, I think that ending poems is always the hardest part of writing it.
Yeah. Titles are always an issue for me.
Titles are hard too. Oftentimes, I don't know what the hell it's going to be titled. Sometimes, like the next poem I'll read, I knew the title before the poem.
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen often, Jack. That's like 1 in 100 poems. It's like, I have a title and I'm going to write from it.
Right. Yeah. I don't recall that ever happening for me.
Yeah.
No, that's not true. There's a piece that's in process. It's called The Warped Lives of Blameless Children, which
I love that.
And that's because I fucking wanted to corner that name before somebody else got it.
Yeah, that's a great name, man. That's a great name. Run with that. Create.
Yeah. I just can't get motivated to get the whole thing finished. That's all. It's like three paragraphs now, but it's like section 1, section 2, section 3. It's not just paragraphs.
For sure. Yeah. And I feel that way too with poems that I really like. I'm like, I want to finish this bastard, but for me, at least, you just got to wait till it happens. Maybe one day you'll be going through your life and you'll see something and then you'll finish that poem and it'll be euphoria right there.
Yeah. I mean, that happens to me on a regular basis, which is why I'm glad that I do have a backlog of some older stuff, because every time I choose to go through my list of what's what, I'll open something up and I'll read it and I'll go, oh, you know what? I could do this. Da, da, da. Next thing you know, it's been an hour and it's over,
I feel the same way. Just got to write whenever the muse strikes and keep writing and never stop,
Well, and the theory is pretty clear. If I'm in the frame of mind where I'm going through a directory or I have a bunch of files that were meant to be published somewhere or, completed or whatever, then obviously it's time to write.
Yeah.
Or I wouldn't be in the folder.
Right. Yeah.
So, all right, give us a couple more, man. I don't want to keep too much more of your time, but let's hear.
Sure, I'm having fun. Love talking with you, man.
Cool.
Well, the next poem I'll read is also from the next book, and it's unpublished, and it's called Obsessive Compulsive Insomniac. And it's based off of my struggles with OCD. Obsessive Compulsive Insomniac. I don't remember the last time I slept through the night. I'm so exhausted, my bones feel like soldiers who shot themselves in war and were sent home to their families. When it's late, I walk and do drugs and end up somewhere new. Tonight, I'm at a park in a sleepy neighborhood, and I miss my mom, and I hate myself. I puke all over a dead bush. I could wipe it up with the greasy McDonald's napkins in my back pocket, but I don't. The sky is clear, the moon a purple brown. I'm not sure what that means, but if I've learned one thing in this life, anything can feel like a metaphor if you're scared enough. And that's a big theme in this book is fear, I think. And I think it's probably been influenced by the pandemic, where I wrote a lot of these poems, even if they're not directly about pandemic life. I felt lonely and afraid for a lot of the last year, and I think a lot of people have too.
Yeah, I've had my ups and downs with that,
Yeah.
And I'm trying to monitor myself real carefully and kind of keep a clear division between what really feels pandemic and what's just me feeling what I'm feeling, you know?
Yeah. That's
Because
a hard distinction.
There are unresolved issues that I know I'm dealing with that I would be dealing with regardless. So that being the case, is it so overwhelming because of the pandemic, or is it just kind of overwhelming as it is? I don't know. And I don't know that it really matters, but I need to keep myself in check. So
yeah, that's important. It's hard though.
Yeah, definitely. But the pandemic is definitely, I just think that 100 years from now, they're going to see how much we were really impacted in a lot of different ways than, I mean, people who are doing what you're doing right now, and I don't, in fact, I'm sure that you and I can talk about this at some point, but, I think there's getting ready to be a lot more problems in the areas of people being unsheltered than what we've anticipated is going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people have lost their jobs because of the pandemic.
And these landlords are they don't care.
And I've met a lot of people, honestly, who have said I'm new to this homelessness thing, and that breaks my heart. That's hard to hear. People who've had a home and a steady job their whole lives and are now on the streets, and that's not uncommon, honestly. And that's tough.
Well, and it was already not uncommon, and then you have a major shakeup event like this.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Ridiculous. All right, man. Well, let's do another poem or so and then give out all your social stuff. And you and I can keep talking, but we don't want to go forever on the podcast. So
For sure. Well,
you'll just make my editing harder. Jesus.
Yeah, I'm just making it harder for you. That's my goal.
That doesn't mean I don't want to talk to you. We can sit here and shoot the shit all night long, bro.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, this last poem I'll read is a little small love poem. I thought I'd end it out a little happy, for those listening.
Cool.
It's called Let's Pretend. Let's pretend we're snowed in, and your little home on 10th and Ash is the only dot of color in purgatory. I want to hold you with both arms in front of the fireplace and talk about why we both find slow dancing barefoot on wood floors so comforting. What do you think about on slow, rainy mornings when the birds seem more valuable to listen to? What can I do when you're feeling sad to make you laugh with your whole body? I'll tell you how I take my tea if you tell me what you want to name the plants in the den.
Very nice, my friend.
Just a cute little love poem. Spread a little hug,
There you go, man. That's all it takes is a little bit of love, my brother.
A little bit of love. That's the goal, man.
So if we want to show Austin Davis a little love, where would we go and do such a thing?
Well, on Instagram, you can find me at Austin W. Davis 1. On Twitter, you can find me at Austin_Davis 17. And friend me on Facebook if you find me. Love it. But yeah, I post poems all the time, try to do as many readings and stuff as I can. Just support art and spread art. That's the goal.
Well, I'm going to, I'll put all those links in the description. They may not be actual live links, but the audience knows that they can copy and paste if they need to.
Yeah, you can go find it.
And I'm also going to put in there, I went through the list. I tell you the truth, Austin, I don't remember now. It might be from your website, but some of the places where you had some work published, Malden House, Ghost City Press, Malarkey Books, OK Donkey.
Yeah. That's from I made a little website on. It's called Milkshake, and it's easy to make a little website for Instagram and Facebook or Instagram and Twitter. So I made a little thing there, and there's a lot of poems on there and videos and all that jazz. So yeah. So
I'll make sure I'll put that link in there as well.
Cool. Thanks, man.
All right, my brother. Well, I appreciate you coming by, man. And I thank you so much. And if we want to get one of the current books, where would be the best place, or where would you prefer we get it from?
Yeah, well, you can get The World Isn't the Size of Our Neighborhood Anymore from Weasel Press. You can get it from Amazon or Bookshop, all those places. But Celestial Nightlight is the latest little published work, and it's free on the Ghost City Press website. So if you want to download that, and there's a little link for tips, and all tips go to Black Lives Matter. So cool. That's free to get some poems, and if you want to check that out.
Yeah, go and do that, folks. I did, and it's worth your time and investment.
So sweet.
All right, guys. Thanks, Austin. I appreciate you being here, buddy. I'm gonna stop the recording now, and you and I can keep on chatting.
Yeah, sounds good, man.
Bye, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. We will see you next week.
Thanks for being here.
Here at the Social Yet Distanced, we sincerely hope that you enjoyed the art that we share tonight. It's kind of what we do. And we'd also like to help share your words and arts as well, so please, let's talk. Follow us on all our socials, and if you're inclined and able, consider supporting our production costs via the support section on the main Anchor page. And of course, like, subscribe, share, and smash, whatever the hell that means. And if you want to ask a question on a future episode, or if you want to leave a 60-second poem, just click on the message link on the main podcast page at anchor.fm/emotional orphan and record your question or your poem in a voicemail. You can also find links to our socials, merchandise, and broadsides there as well, and all of the episodes of this wonderful podcast. Thanks for coming by, and we'll see you next week.